Hey guys, let's get more news about Steelers, but first, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and leave a like. Steelers may be eyeing surprise first-round QB who's flying up draft boards. It's no secret the Pittsburgh Steelers are looking to move on from quarterback Russell Wilson in 2025. The team reportedly made an aggressive offer to keep Justin Fields before he signed a 2-year, $40 million contract with the New York Jets, and Pittsburgh brought back Mason Rudolph on a 2-year contract after spending last season with the Tennessee Titans. The Steelers are waiting to hear back from their fallback option Aaron Rodgers, who's reportedly taking his time in deciding about playing next season. It's been reported that Rodgers could wait until after the 2025 NFL Draft next month to make a decision, and if that happens, or if Rodgers ends up going with the Giants, the Steelers could turn to the draft to find another QB to bring in and compete with Rudolph for the starting job. And ESPN analyst Harry Douglas believes there's one under-the-radar passer who's flying up draft boards that could make a lot of sense for the Steelers if they go that route. During Thursday's episode of Get Up, Mike Greenberg pitched the Cleveland Browns taking either Colorado receiver/cornerback Travis Hunter or Penn State defensive end Abdul Carter number 2 overall and trading back up into the first round to get Louisville QB Tyler Shaw. Douglas stated that he liked that plan but he believed the Steelers will snatch up Shaw before the Browns get the chance to. "I love that. My only concern is that I don't believe Tyler Shaw will be there late in the first round," Douglas said. "If Pittsburgh stays at 21, I think Pittsburgh at 21 could take Tyler Shaw." NFL insider Adam Schefter chimed in, giving some legitimacy to Douglas' idea, stating Shaw to the Steelers is already being talked about by some around the league. "I had somebody say to me about a week ago, a coach they just said, I could see the Pittsburgh Steelers being interested in Tyler Shaw," Schefter said. "The Steelers didn't say that, but other people have said that, and we'll see whether or not there's any validity to that 5 weeks from now." Though Shaw will turn 26 shortly after the season starts, scouts are enamored with him because of his size, 6'5", 225 pounds, speed. He ran a 4.54 in the 40-yard dash, and arm talent. Shaw has a breakout season for Louisville in 2024, passing for 3,195 yards, 23 touchdowns, and 6 interceptions while leading the Cardinals to a 9-4 record and win over Washington in the Sun Bowl. Study: how much of an upgrade is Juan Thornhill? An underrated need for the Pittsburgh Steelers this offseason was addressing depth at the safety position behind Minkah Fitzpatrick and Deshaun Elliott. Last year, Damontae Kazee had the third most safety snaps for Pittsburgh, but he wasn't retained for 2025. New addition Juan Thornhill, former Chief and more recently of the Cleveland Browns, looks to slot into that role. Today's goal will be to see how Thornhill could be an upgrade, or vice versa, in the upcoming season. First, here are defensive snaps and defensive grades from Pro Football Focus, PFF. Right away, we see Thornhill offered more than Kazee in each category in 2024. In 11 games, all starts at free safety, Thornhill had 401 defensive snaps, 86th, and a 65.5 defensive grade, 46th. The latter was just above the mean out of the 104 qualifying safeties, min 250 defensive snaps. In comparison, here's how Kazee fared: 290 defensive snaps, 99th, 58.8 defensive grade, 76th. Thankfully, Pittsburgh's returning starters were above the mean in both last year, with Fitzpatrick leading the way with 1,084 defensive snaps, T6th, while Elliott had the slight edge in defensive grade, 70.2, 30th. If Thornhill can have a similar, or better, 2025, it appears he could be an upgrade to Pittsburgh's secondary. Next, here are coverage and run defense grades. It's a pretty telling visual. Thornhill fared stronger in coverage, with a 64.5 grade that tied for 35th, edging out both Elliott and Kazee, who were below the mean. Run defense lacked in comparison, though, worst of the players in our site at 61.7, 82nd. Better coverage than run defense has also been true over his 6-year career to date. So, context is gained in the pros and cons of what his playing time could look like. Deep alignment experience with possibly better coverage, allowing the stronger run defenders closer to the line. Particularly Elliott, who had the 6th best run defense grade at the position in 2024, 87.8, and more roaming around potential for Fitzpatrick. Last, I wanted to examine tackle grades and missed tackle rates. Sorry for the bad news, but Thornhill had a whopping 22.6 missed tackle rate that was dead last among the 104 qualifying safeties last season, along with a 45.0 tackling grade, 98th. Not what you want to see from your last line of defense, which Pittsburgh has had to rely on far too often recently. In 2024, Pittsburgh's 3 safeties were thankfully reliable tacklers, all comfortably above the mean and miles above Thornhill. The latter is thoroughly concerning and must improve to earn playing time, in my opinion. This was the worst mark of Thornhill's career, substantially, outside of his rookie year. Perhaps some time in the lab with Fitzpatrick and Elliott will do some good, too. Particularly Elliott, who had the best 1.8 missed tackle rate and a 90.3 tackling grade, 3rd. So there is more optimism for improvement than his run defense, given the track record. He brings more experience and was stronger in coverage than Pittsburgh had at its 3rd safety spot 2024, which hopefully continues if he earns the role. That would be huge. I can't wait to see if the Steelers address the position in the draft, too. Steelers coach Mike Tomlin gets dinner with potential new QB as Aaron Rodgers saga drags on. Pittsburgh Steelers coach Mike Tomlin has begun his scouting journey for a new quarterback as he met with a top prospect for dinner ahead of the NFL draft. On Tuesday, March 18, Tom Pelissero reported that former Alabama quarterback Jalen Milroe had dinner with Tomlin, Steelers GM Omar Khan, and quarterbacks coach Tom Arth in Tuscaloosa. The meeting occurred amid an NFL saga revolving around Aaron Rodgers' next team, in which the Steelers were once involved in discussions. After parting ways with the New York Jets behind 2 disappointing seasons, one he missed with an Achilles tear, the veteran quarterback had been linked to the Giants, Steelers, and Vikings. However, those options could be even further limited now that the Vikings are behind J.J. McCarthy, a 2024 rookie who did not play at all last season due to injury. With Sam Darnold moving on to the Seattle Seahawks, and Daniel Jones trying to become the starter in Indianapolis, McCarthy has the inside track to be the Vikings' top signal caller. Rodgers had previously made it known that he was in no rush to find a landing spot. Still, Tomlin's meeting with Milroe could spell doom for his options as the Steelers look to restart from their 2-quarterback setup last season. The Steelers began their season with an abundance at the position, signing both rising star Justin Fields and bona fide veteran Russell Wilson. Unfortunately, after losing their 6th postseason game in a row, tied for the longest active streak in the league, the franchise has seen their longest playoff drought since 1972, not having won a playoff game in 8 years. Fields, 25, appeared in 10 games and completed 106 of 161 attempts for 1,106 yards and 5 touchdowns. He also rushed for 289 yards and found the end zone 5 times. On the other hand, the 36-year-old Wilson made 11 appearances, 214 completions for 336 attempts, and tallied 2,482 yards for 16 touchdowns. Wilson did find as much success in rushing with 11 carries for 43 yards and 2 touchdowns. Fields ultimately filled the void left by Rodgers' divorce with the Jets in New York. As a result, Wilson and Rodgers remain on the market, waiting for a team to acquire their services. Milroe completed 205 of 309 attempts for 2,844 yards and 16 touchdowns for the Crimson Tide this past season. This followed a notable campaign in 2023 where he completed 187 of 284 attempts for 2,834 yards and 23 touchdowns. He also rushed for 12 and 20 in his last 2 seasons, respectively. And you fan? What do you think about Jalen Milroe's situation? Write to us in the comments.